Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So this will be my last week of doing readings, and I thought I'd begin with from the suttas and from the Samyutta Nikaya Anapana Samyutta, the connected discourses on breathing. So there's a whole section in the Samyutta on mindfulness of breathing. And I'm going to take them all from that section. There's a theme going, mindfulness of breathing. So to bring it back to the mindfulness of breathing, and then tomorrow I thought I'd do some readings from Ajahn Chah, sort of bring it into a contemporary practical. But today, we begin with Samyutta 54. 54 is the Anapana Samyutta, and Sutta number 13. At Savatthi. Then the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side, and said to him, Venerable Sir, is there one thing which, when developed and cultivated, fulfills four things, and four things which, when developed and cultivated, fulfill seven things, and seven things which, when developed and cultivated, fulfill two things? And of course, the Buddha says, yes, there is. And said, so it goes into what the one thing is, developed and cultivated, fulfills four things. Concentration by mindfulness of breathing, Ananda, is the one thing which, when developed and cultivated, fulfills the four establishments of mindfulness. The four establishments of mindfulness, when developed and cultivated, fulfill the seven factors of enlightenment. Seven factors of enlightenment, when developed and cultivated, fulfill true knowledge and liberation. And I felt this was a really kind of comprehensive overview of how Anapanasati fulfills our Dhamma practice, and also there's some interesting, well, I thought it was interesting anyway, interesting details that are kind of highlighted or come out. How Ananda is concentration by mindfulness of breathing developed and cultivated so that it fulfills the four establishments of mindfulness. Here Ananda, a bhikkhu, having gone to the forest, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty hut, sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, straightened his body, set up mindfulness in front of him. Just mindful, he breathes in, mindful, he breathes out. So then it goes through the whole 16 steps of mindfulness of breathing, until the last one. He trains thus, contemplating relinquishment. I will breathe in. He trains thus, contemplating relinquishment. I will breathe out. Whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu, when breathing in long knows, I breathe in long, these are the steps concerned with the body. So breathing in long, breathing in short, breathing out short, aware of the experiencing the whole body, breathing in, breathing out, and then tranquilizing the bodily formation, I don't like tranquilizing so well. I like calming the bodily formation. I'll breathe in, breathe out. On that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. For what reason? I call this a certain kind of body, Ananda, that is, breathing in and breathing out. Therefore, Ananda, on that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. So that the Buddha is both using the body as a basis of that, and saying that this is a type of body that we have to get to know, the breath body, along with the physical body. Then whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu, trains thus, experiencing rapture, I will breathe in, and so experiencing rapture, breathing in, breathing out, experiencing pleasure, breathing in, breathing out, experiencing the mental formations, breathing in, breathing out, and then calming the mental formations, breathing in, breathing out. So when he trains thus, calming the mental formation, I will breathe out. On that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating feelings in feelings, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. For what reason? I call this a certain kind of feeling, Ananda. That is close attention to breathing in and breathing out. Therefore, Ananda, on that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating feelings in feelings, ardent, clearly comprehending, so on. So that using the lens of feeling, of Vedana, as a lens for both in terms of mindfulness of breathing, but then tuning into what are the feelings that are arising at a time. And whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu, trains thus, experiencing the mind, I'll breathe in, breathe out, gladdening the mind to breathe in, breathe out, composing the mind or concentrating the mind, breathing in, breathing out, then liberating the mind, breathing in, liberating the mind, I will breathe out. On that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating mind in mind, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. For what reason? I say, Ananda, that there is no development of concentration by mindfulness of breathing for one who is muddled and who lacks clear comprehension. Therefore, Ananda, on that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating mind in mind, so that this development of course, and also that the concentration that is being developed by mindfulness of breathing is based on the way that the Buddha, that mindfulness and clear comprehension, that is a really important aspect, because sometimes there is this tendency to, I've got to concentrate the mind, or I've got to get the mind fixed and one-pointed and immovable, and that's not how the Buddha is describing mindfulness of breathing. I mean, the concentration arises because there is a continuity and stability of mindfulness, clear comprehension, the factors of right mindfulness, ardent, clearly comprehend, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. It's the classic description of cultivation of mindfulness. And that the understanding the mind, of course, requires that one tries to unmuddle the mind and establish clear comprehension. And whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu trains thus, contemplating impermanence, I'll breathe in and breathe out, contemplating dispassion, breathing in, breathing out, contemplating cessation, breathing in, breathing out, and in contemplating relinquishment, breathing in, contemplating relinquishment, I will breathe out. On that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating phenomena in phenomena, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world, having seen with wisdom what is the abandoning of covetousness and displeasure, is one who looks on closely with equanimity. Therefore, Ananda, on that occasion, the bhikkhu dwells contemplating phenomena in phenomena, ardent, clearly comprehend. So that is, in a sense, that contemplation of developing mindfulness of breathing, with the body as an understanding the whole kind of experience of body. Yes, there's physical body, but there's this is a certain kind of body, breathing in and breathing out, getting that sense of body. Same with feelings, and that there is, I call this a certain kind of feeling. That is close attention to breathing in, breathing out. And the purpose of the contemplation of mind and mind, that's to developing that mindfulness of breathing so that one is going beyond being one who is muddled and who lacks clear comprehension. And then contemplating the aspect of Dhamma or the phenomena. It's this having seen with wisdom what is the because that cultivation of, again, it comes back to this theme of the four foundations of mindfulness, and the qualities of that developing mindfulness, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world, and then the purpose or the function or the fruit of appropriate fruit of cultivation of the mindfulness of breathing, and then taking it through these different stages, and the contemplating the aspects on the last foundation of mindfulness, and impermanence, dispassion, cessation, relinquishment, is to be able to see with wisdom and abandon covetousness and displeasure, liking, disliking, wanting, not wanting, and being one who looks on closely with equanimity. So then, it is Ananda when concentration by mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated in this way that it fulfills the four establishments of mindfulness. So that is how these four foundations of mindfulness kind of shine forth, or what their trajectory can be. And how, Ananda, are the four establishments of mindfulness developed and cultivated so that they fulfill the seven factors of awakening. Whenever, Ananda, a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, on that occasion, unmuddled mindfulness is established in that bhikkhu. So that mindfulness is the first factor of the seven factors of awakening. Mindfulness, the development of reflection on Dhamma Vichaya, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, equanimity. That's your seven factors of awakening. And then whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu, dwells contemplating the body and the body, on that occasion unmuddled mindfulness is established in that bhikkhu. Whenever Ananda, unmuddled mindfulness has been established in a bhikkhu, on that occasion the enlightenment factor of mindfulness is aroused by the bhikkhu. On that occasion the bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness. On that occasion the enlightenment factor of mindfulness goes to fulfillment by development in the bhikkhu. Dwelling thus mindfully, he discriminates that Dhamma with wisdom. So it's examines it, makes an investigation of it. So this implementing that Dhammavicaya, investigation of Dhammas. Whenever Ananda, bhikkhu, dwelling thus mindfully, discriminates that Dhamma with wisdom, examines it, makes an investigation of it, on that occasion, the enlightenment factor of discrimination of states is aroused by the bhikkhu. On that occasion, the bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of discrimination of states. On that occasion, the enlightenment factor of discrimination of states goes to fulfillment by development in the bhikkhu. While he discriminates that Dhamma with wisdom, examines it, makes an investigation of it, his energy is aroused without slackening. Whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu's energy, is aroused without slackening, as he discriminates that Dhamma, on that occasion, the enlightenment factor of energy is aroused by the bhikkhu. On that occasion, it develops it, and that enlightenment factor of energy goes to fulfillment. When his energy aroused, there arises in him spiritual rapture. So piti. Whenever Ananda, spiritual rapture arises in a bhikkhu whose energy is aroused, on that occasion the enlightenment factor of rapture is aroused by the bhikkhu. On that occasion the bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of rapture. On that occasion the enlightenment factor of rapture goes to fulfillment by development in the bhikkhu. For one whose mind is uplifted by rapture, the body becomes tranquil and the mind becomes tranquil. Whenever Ananda, the body becomes tranquil and the mind becomes tranquil in a bhikkhu whose mind is uplifted by rapture, on that occasion the enlightenment factor of tranquility is aroused by the bhikkhu. On that occasion the bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of tranquility. On that occasion the enlightenment factor of tranquility goes to fulfillment by development in the bhikkhu. For one whose body is tranquil and who is happy, the mind becomes concentrated. Whenever Ananda, the mind becomes concentrated in a bhikkhu whose body is tranquil and who is happy, on that occasion the enlightenment factor of concentration is aroused, and so on. He becomes one who closely looks on with equanimity at the mind thus concentrated. Whenever Ananda, a bhikkhu, becomes one who closely looks on with equanimity at the mind thus concentrated, on that occasion the enlightenment factor of equanimity is aroused by the bhikkhu. On that occasion the bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of equanimity. On that occasion the enlightenment factor of equanimity goes to fulfillment by development in the bhikkhu. And then goes through that whole sequence again through the foundation of mindfulness of feelings, mind, and phenomena in exact same way. It is Ananda when the four foundations of mindfulness are developed and cultivated in this way that they fulfill the seven factors of enlightenment. How, Ananda, are the seven factors of enlightenment developed and cultivated so that they fulfill true knowledge and liberation? Here, Ananda, a bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness, which is based upon seclusion, dispassion, and cessation, maturing in release. He develops the enlightenment factor of discrimination of states, the enlightenment factor of energy, enlightenment factor of rapture. enlightenment factor of tranquility, enlightenment factor of concentration, enlightenment factor of equanimity, which is based upon seclusion, dispassion, and cessation, maturing in release. It is Ananda when the 7 factors of enlightenment are developed and cultivated in this way that they fulfill true knowledge and liberation. So that's another element of, say, qualities that one can be turning one's attention to. This in Pali, viveka, viraka, nirodha, vosaga, and that's that seclusion, pulling back, viraka, dispassion, cessation, and then that maturing in release or relinquishment. It's vosaga and patinissaga are very, very similar in their qualities. That was so then there's Samyutta 54, Sutta number 7, Mahakapinna. And I'll just read an excerpt from that. At Savatthi. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Mahakapinna was sitting not far from the Blessed One, with his legs folded crosswise, holding his body straight, having set up mindfulness in front of him. The Blessed One saw him sitting nearby, with his legs folded crosswise, his body straight, having set up mindfulness in front of him. Having seen him, he addressed the bhikkhus thus: Bhikkhus, do you see any shaking or trembling in this bhikkhu's body? Venerable Sir, whenever we see that Venerable One, whether he is sitting in the midst of the Sangha or sitting alone in private, we never see any shaking or trembling in that Venerable One's body. Because that bhikkhu gains at will, without trouble or difficulty, that concentration through the development and cultivation of which no shaking or trembling occurs in the body, and no shaking or trembling occurs in the mind. And what concentration is it? Through the development of concentration of which no shaking or trembling occurs in the body, and no shaking or trembling occurs in the mind. It is because when concentration by mindfulness of breathing has been developed and cultivated that no shaking or trembling occurs in the body, and no shaking or trembling occurs in the mind. And then, of course, it goes through the sutta. Then the next excerpt is Sutta number 8 in Samyutta 54, and it just begins as because concentration by mindfulness of breathing is of great fruit and great benefit, and then how is it? And of course, it goes through the basic steps of Anapanasati. It is in this way because the concentration by mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated so that it is of great fruit and benefit. I too, bhikkhus, before my enlightenment, while I was still a bodhisattva, not yet fully enlightened, generally dwelt in this dwelling. While I generally dwelt in this dwelling, that is mindfulness of breathing, neither my body nor my eyes became fatigued, and my mind, by not clinging, was liberated from the taints. Therefore, bhikkhus, if a bhikkhu wishes, may neither my body nor my eyes become fatigued, and may my mind, by not clinging, be liberated from the taints. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to. Therefore, bhikkhus, if a bhikkhu wishes, may the memories and intentions connected with the household life be abandoned by me. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to. Therefore, bhikkhus, if a bhikkhu wishes, May I dwell perceiving the attractive in the unattractive. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to, if a bhikkhu wishes. May I dwell perceiving the unattractive in the attractive. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to, if a bhikkhu wishes. May I dwell perceiving the attractive in the unattractive and the attractive. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to, if a bhikkhu wishes. May I dwell perceiving the unattractive in the attractive and the unattractive. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to, if a bhikkhu wishes. Avoiding both the unattractive and the attractive, may I dwell equanimous, mindful, and clearly comprehending. This same concentration by mindfulness of breathing should be closely attended to. And then it goes through the jhanas, and then through the formless attainments, and I'd say when bhikkhus, this concentration by mindfulness of breathing has been developed and cultivated in this way, if he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a painful feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. So that and it goes through all sorts of different feelings, and then that sense of the ending with the just as bhikkhus, an oil lamp burns in dependence on the oil and the wick, and with the exhaustion of the oil and the wick it is extinguished through lack of fuel, so too bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu feels a feeling terminating with the body, terminating with life, he understands with the breakup of the body, following the exhaustion of light, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right here. So that's the end of the sutta. The sense of the culmination of that reflection on feeling and understanding, but again rooting in and beginning in the cultivation of mindfulness of breathing. And the last sutta that I was going to read today is sutta number 11. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Ichanangala, in the Ichanangala wood. There the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus. Bhikkhus, I wish to go into seclusion for 3 months. I should not be approached by anyone except the one who brings me alms food. Yes, Venerable Sir, those bhikkhus replied, and no one approached the Blessed One except the one who brought him alms food. Then, when those 3 months had passed, the Blessed One emerged from seclusion and addressed the bhikkhus thus. Bhikkhus, if wanderers of other sects ask you, in what dwelling, friends, did the Blessed One generally dwell during the rain's residence? Being asked thus, you should answer those wanderers thus. During the rain's residence, friends, the Blessed One generally dwelt in the concentration by mindfulness of breathing. Here, bhikkhus, mindful, I breathe in, mindful, I breathe out. When breathing in long, I know I breathe in long. When breathing out long, I know. And it goes through the whole of the 16 steps of Anapanasati. Contemplating relinquishment, I know, contemplating relinquishment, I will breathe out. If any one bhikkhu, speaking rightly, could say of anything, it is a noble dwelling, a divine dwelling, the Tathagata's dwelling. It is of concentration by mindfulness of breathing that one could rightly say this. Bhikkhus, those bhikkhus who are trainees, who have not attained their mind's ideal, who dwell aspiring for the unsurpassed security from bondage, for them concentration by mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated, leads to the destruction of the taints. Those bhikkhus who are arhants, whose taints are destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached their own goal, utterly destroyed the fetters of existence, those completely liberated through final knowledge, for them, concentration by mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated, leads to a pleasant dwelling in this very life and to mindfulness and clear comprehension. If any one bhikkhus, speaking rightly, could say of anything, it is a noble dwelling, a divine dwelling, the Tathagata's dwelling. It is of concentration by mindfulness of breathing that one could rightly say this. So I'll leave it there. Open it up for comments, questions.
On the first reading, you used a term that I had put together as the breath body.
Pardon?
You used the term breath body versus physical body. And I appreciate the delineation.
Yeah.
Can you speak more to the breath body and just, I want you to riff off that and just whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, in a sense of how the, I mean, one is, say, there is a, yeah, I would say breath bodies, how one experiences the breath. It's also how, in the sense of, it is also like in the Anapanasati Sutta, then the Buddha, how do you say, calming the kaya sankhara. So that sometimes that is translated as the breath body. It also, sankhara is a formation, so like it is a bodily formation. It is also, Ajahn Buddhadasa is the one who translated it as because it's like as a formation, and sankhara is also a builder. So that's what builds or creates. So that Ajahn Buddhadasa translated as a conditioner. So like a body conditioner. It's what, because these are affecting the body. And of course, these go back and forth. But there is as a breath body, it's how we experience because sometimes certainly as the mind gets more still, then the feeling of the body really drops away and the mind settles on the breath, and it becomes a body. It takes shape. It has a feeling to it, and has a shape. It has and then it can also similarly either collapse or expand. That one can experience that sensation of the breath or the manifestation of the breath in many different ways. So that as the mind becomes more settled and clear, then it's just like a breath body. Then one can also be, say, one can be using, say, that feeling of the breath, or the tangible nature of the breath, to be, say, expanding and uplifting, or settling and soothing, so that it becomes something that one can work with, play with. It gets very interesting. Yeah.
I'm wondering about the instruction of attending to the unattractive and the attractive in the unattractive and the attractive, while
Right.
maintaining mindfulness of the breath.
Yes.
How should I interpret those instructions?
Instructions are a bit thin. But I think one of the things is recognizing that, because it tends to get fleshed out, sometimes literally, in the commentaries. But I think is recognizing that what we label, say, as attractive and as unattractive, are perception, as opposed to any intrinsic quality. So one can be, one can change one's perception of things, and how we perceive things. Just on a really ordinary basis, we change perception, all the time, really, and so that but then we can consciously attend to that and realize, okay, can I shift this? This is like something is really kind of, one is, say, attractive, is pulling up all sorts of stimulation, and can I see the unattractive nature in that? Something is kind of making one a bit averse. Oh, can I see the attractive in that? And so then it's working with perception, and the more one recognizes how much we are swayed by, we're pulled by, I like this, I don't like that, this is beautiful, this is not beautiful, this is attractive, this is unattractive, I want this, I don't want that. We're constantly prey to our mind, and in realizing that, I'm buying into whatever perception there is, and I can exercise some kind of mindfulness around that, and train the mind to not just be following it blindly. And because it helps us to question the assumptions that the mind makes, because it's very it's very primal in terms of the perceptual process, that's why, like in the Anapanasati Sutta, the experiencing the citta sankhara, I breathe in, breathe out, calming the citta sankhara, I breathe in, breathe out. Citta sankhara are similar, as I said, like the body conditioner or the body formation. It's the mind formation or the mind conditioners. And it comes up in many places, but certainly the Majjhima 44, the questions and answers with the Bhikkhuni Dhammadina, then, what are the mental forms? It's feeling and perception. Those are what condition and build the mind. There's what get the thought processes going. That's what gets the reactions going. So that understanding more clearly. But then one can also start, similarly working with that quite consciously of how do I, how can I lift up a perception of either attractive or unattractive that leads to more wholesome mental states and less unwholesome.
So would I want to specifically be attending to those perceptions of things that are coming up in my meditation, or am I going out and picking up external objects and contemplating them while simultaneously attending to my breath?
It works with the breath, but it also works with, because that process is going on all the time. And sometimes you catch yourself, because you notice how much we judge, or how much we assume, or how much value we place on something like that. Attractive, unattractive, want it, don't want it, and realize that, I could avoid a lot of turmoil if I saw this more clearly.
Luang Por, I have a following question that happened on tea time, 12 o'clock. The question was that Luang Por was saying that, mindfulness of the body, when that's happened, and then when that's okay, it's calm and thing, you should shift it to mindfulness of the mind. So can Luang Por expand?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So is that going to indirect experience of
Well, I think one of the things is similar to just what I was talking with Daniel is that, we can use mindfulness of the body because it's tangible. We start to see these processes more clearly, but then to turn the attention, as mindfulness becomes more steady, then you're turning it to the mind. What does the mind do? Similar to just that, the feeling and perception, or like Ajahn Krundama's talk last night, the different states of the mind. Is there greed there? Is there not greed? Is there hatred? Is there not hatred? Is it delusion? Is it not delusion? Is it expanded or is it contracted? What's the actual content of the mind? So then it's using that mindfulness to understand the mental processes more clearly, and in particular understanding the underlying tendencies that the mind has, because we can become quite mindful and calm, and then it feels so good that we don't investigate further. So it's helpful to turn attention to the mind. Yes, Jeff.
There was one phrase that was used, I think, maybe at the end of the last sutta, I'm not sure, about a feeling terminating at the end of the body.
Yes, yeah.
Could you explain that a little more?
That's that was in the third one. Yeah, there's basically it's the end of life. So that you're conscious of the very last feeling that you're experiencing. In the same way, you're conscious of your very last breath.
And so is that how should we practice with that? Is that just
Well, try to keep breathing. Yeah. It's just cultivation of mindfulness that you start recognizing. It's like Ajahn Chah would sometimes, did you fall asleep last night on your in-breath or your out-breath? Having that's a real challenge to have that degree of mindfulness and alertness and presence where one is, so that one can be cultivating that same attentiveness and alertness and as in daily life and in one's meditation. And the extrapolation of that would be at the end of one's life, one would be pretty clear.
And then practicing as if every breath is your last one as well.
Yeah.
So, Luang Por, so did Luang Por Cha teach based on what you just said about like being aware of when you fall asleep, whether it was on the in-breath or the out-breath? Did he teach kind of like mindfulness of breathing throughout the four postures, like in all
Yeah.
activity?
Oh yeah. That was quite an important aspect of his teaching, was that he wasn't just teaching a meditation technique, or he wasn't running a meditation retreat center. He was trying to get us to live a life of Dhamma practice and meditation being a part of that, and that the cultivation of four foundations of mindfulness was not just in the when you're meditating, but carrying that through everything that you're doing, a continuity of attention, a continuity of mindfulness.
So on that note, do you have any advice on how to stay with the breath throughout the postures and throughout activities?
Well, you just, I mean, the more you try, the more you tie yourself in knots, admonishing yourself for losing mind. It's just giving yourself, doing it in little chunks, and sort of, can I be mindful? Where do I lose my mindfulness? Like really paying attention. Where do I lose my mindfulness? Because you just get really tense, just trying to force yourself to be mindful all the time. But to take interest in what does it feel like when I am more mindful? How can I carry that through? And then what is it that pulls my attention away? And the more you learn that, then you start letting go, and mindfulness starts to become more continuous.